Well, we've made it. We're in the fall now. So I know with everything going on, it seems like it was difficult. But and every Zoom I do, I think I have less hair. So, I mean, I don't think that's a good sign. But but the good news is the holidays are coming and everyone loves that. And it's the most important time of year for music instrument retailers. So that's why I have Mark Anzelc, the senior seller engagement manager for Reverb. First, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Very cool.
I mean, let's talk about the, I want to get in a few topics with you, but for MI retailers, an idea, can you give us some tips for prepping their online shops for the holidays? I mean, I think that's the first thing. Let's start with.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I could always say is that list everything that you have. There's a saying on the seller engagement team that I manage is when you list, you sell. This includes both new and used gear. Reverb has long been known as the website for selling used, but more and more consumers are buying new gear from our sellers as well. That really started peaking last year. During the pandemic, and has kind of maintained itself, when other, marketplaces stopped selling musical instruments and, started focusing on, fulfilling soap and hand sanitizer and stuff like that. We saw a significant influx to Reverb for that brand new gear. So list everything. When you list, you sell. I'd also say, consider diversifying your brands and category offerings. This is something that's a little bit more unique to what we're experiencing right now. With current inventory shortages and supply chain issues, there's a lot of brands that aren't able to fulfill the demand that they were fulfilling pre-pandemic. So consumers are eager for all types of music gear. I myself am a musician, I play guitar. And I was in the market for a new Reverb pedal, and the one that I wanted just wasn't available from anybody. So I switched to a different brand. You know what I mean? And because those were available, take advantage of that. Just because somebody doesn't typically buy something because it's available now, they might. And I would also recommend that you integrate your website with your Reverb shop if you haven't already. Sellers who integrate their Reverb shops list more items a lot quicker and can manage their listings and inventory and orders, from one location rather than doing them from a bunch of different ones. And that falls in line with the first thing that I mentioned as well, which is list everything. It allows that to happen more quickly, more rapidly. So yeah, if you haven't done it yet, I'd say do it now. It's not too late.
Okay. Well, it makes a lot of sense, by the way, that a person who works for Reverb would look for a Reverb pedal. So I got to say that.
Right? Yeah.
Well, we got to point that out to everybody. I'm sure other people made that connection when you said that. Yeah. So maybe it's no accident. I don't know. Okay. It's, and in correlation to that question, are there any specific tools and services that Reverb itself offers, that can help the retailers set themselves up before the holidays? Absolutely.
We offer retailers the ability to offer 0% financing to buyers. And, times are tough right now, and for a lot of people still. So being able to finance at 0% for, up to 18 months is kind of a big deal. It could be the reason why someone purchases from you and not another person. And hey, by the way, if anyone's watching this and they want to know how to offer 0% financing, they can just email sellerengagement@reverb.com. That's my team. We'll get back to you and we'll let you know what you have to do that. So yeah, expanding your financing options is a major tool to use. We also offer the ability for some sellers to use free 2-day shipping. That's a really great way to differentiate yourself if you have the margins to accommodate for that. It's really impactful. And, if we're talking brand new gear, and this is one of those pedals that everyone has that I ended up purchasing, I purchased from the person with free 2-day shipping on that because there was a bunch of different ones, but I wanted it a little bit quicker. So the difference for me and who I chose to purchase from relied on that shipping option. So absolutely utilize that as well. Again, you can contact us if you need to know how. And for people who aren't integrated and don't think that they're going to be able to do that prior to the holiday season, download our Reverb app. You can use the app to list your gear on Reverb, as well as answer, buyer questions, respond to offers, close sales faster, all that stuff. There's a camera right on there. Just go and start taking pictures of those things and it'll push it right to Reverb. And yeah, the holiday season is kind of always a madhouse for people. So being able to have that app and that message tool on hand, really helps gain loyalty from, repeat customers and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to ask you also about the e-commerce platform itself for the retailer. I think if there's one thing the pandemic has taught a lot of people, including my retailers, is the importance of an e-commerce platform. I don't think there's any question about that, like yours.
100%.
Now, I would say my question is twofold here. There are still some retailers though that have not decided to go that route. Possible reason, I think they all know to do it. Some reasons I've heard in my own discussions have been, I want to make sure my goal is to be the in-person experience, to feel and touch the product.
Sure.
Which is hard to do. So my question is for those people, why is it important now to really get started with the e-commerce platform? And for people who have started and do have a business in e-commerce, such as the Reverb platform, how is why should they expand on it or build that out right now and to get even broader?
The internet has made the world, both bigger and smaller kind of at the same time, right? E-commerce is important because you have people from, literally all over the world, that could purchase from you. So your customer base isn't just specifically, within the 20-mile radius or whatever it is of your physical location. You might have something in your shop that no one within a 20-mile radius is looking to purchase, unfortunately. Having that e-commerce space allows you to expand that, globally if you want, if you want to go that far. Every time I'm at NAM or I'm talking to sellers, or buyers, they're like, yeah, I'm in Seattle here and I'm looking for, this specific item and I can't find it anywhere locally. And they go online and there's someone from Nashville or Tampa, Florida, or whatever, who actually has it. Your customer base becomes global then, and the fact of the matter is that, your competition is already doing it as well. So some of them aren't, but most of them are. And it's going to be more and more difficult as time goes on to not embrace that and stay competitive with those, with your peers. So reach that global audience, and whether that's, Reverb or, or your own website, or, make your own website, market yourself, get it out there, integrate with Reverb. It's a tough business. So just expand your footprint as much as you can. Don't lose opportunities that way, Yeah,
no doubt. It is true. We're national and global businesses right now for retailers. It's just not real Larry anymore. It's hard to sustain just having a local business, isn't it? No question.
Absolutely.
And I want to ask you also about, there's been a lot of talk in our industry about the inventory issues that manufacturers have had. This is a concern, not that the fault of their own. I don't want to make it seem like that, but there's shipping problems and things of that sort that's out of their control. But it hasn't been talked to on a retailer end, and that's where I want to see if you could come in and, offer some tips here. I mean, especially as we reach the holiday season, how can retailers set themselves up to make sure that they don't have inventory problems? I mean, I think that's a really important question they're going to be facing really soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of goes back to what I was alluding to earlier when I was mentioning, list everything you can in my experience with that Reverb pedal working at Reverb. It's a really interesting question because I was at a conference and there was like kind of a work group around what have people, what have you done over the past year that was innovative to help you, stay on top of your game and stay competitive and everything like that. And this inevitably came up and people were sharing their insights. That whole, expanding your, creating new dealer agreements with suppliers who have them. So looking to expand your brand coverage, potentially your category coverage. So some of the people who were talking were like, we primarily, would sell pianos, and that just wasn't a thing that people were buying. So we really had to start embracing acoustic guitars. And I mean, they were more of an acoustic shop, string stuff like that. They started embracing acoustic guitars, acoustic basses to meet that demand, because that's really where the demand was. So follow that. There's some brands that were upfront about, some sort of inventory constraints that they were going to be having. And they're like, okay, well, we need to find other people to start those partnerships with. So inventory and category expansion. One of the other things I would mention would be embracing pre-orders. Because if you don't have it, maybe no one else does either. And that option, or that Reverb pedal that I mentioned, is actually a pretty good example of that, because the initial one that I wanted, there was a handful of people who had it for pre-order. That was more of a commodity good, I had other options, so I went with that. But if I was dead set and I had, some sort of commitment to that brand, I would have opted into a pre-order. I would have got my foot in the, got my place in line for when that thing becomes available. And there's definitely people out there who are loyal to the brands, and they don't want the clone or anything like that. They want the actual thing. I heard this is people were mentioning that it's really successful for higher end items as well. So those people are definitely more willing to wait purchasing those higher end things. So embrace pre-orders as well. And yeah, I would say those two things are two of the most useful things I could recommend people embrace while going into the holidays.
Okay, great. And now I got to ask our last question is the fun but difficult one, and that's about the future. Right. We have to take out the crystal ball, unfortunately. I mean, is the NAMM president CEO Joe Lamont says you should call him if you have a crystal ball and know the future. But we know that, their predictions are not going to be 100% perfect. Nobody's is, but everyone's excited or at least fascinated by the future. So tell me about the future of music buying. I mean, how do you think that that's going to be? I mean, as far as an online and in-store experience, well, what are your thoughts there and how it may evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is evolving as you and I are speaking right now. Nothing like a pandemic to change habits, right? Now that the buyers have experienced the benefits of buying music gear online, I believe that we'll continue to see music makers turn to e-commerce. Players who might have been apprehensive about buying gear online now have experienced how easy it is to do so. It's the experience and the convenience of, looking for, discovering specifically what you want to play, or learning about something new that exists. I mean, everything that I learn about new instruments, I learn from the internet, right? And then the first place that I go is the internet to see, how much does this cost? Like, is it still in production? Who has these things? I'm not necessarily running to the local music store with my fingers crossed that I hope they have it, for a multitude of reasons, some being health reasons still. That's not to say that everyone is going to behave that way, but I think, people who may have been more reluctant to do it in the past have changed habits and embraced that. I think we're going to see, YouTube's already a great place. Actually, when I was buying that Reverb pedal, I just started watching demo videos. We're going to see a lot more of that. That's how you're going to learn how something sounds, and that's going to continue to evolve. And yeah, it's about the, e-commerce having the wide range of inventory that shopping online offers them. Using Reverb, you suddenly have access to the exact vintage synth or new guitar that you've been searching for. And I think it's here to stay. I'm not seeing trends of moving in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I definitely think it's here to stay as well. Well, thank you. I want to thank Mark Anzelc for his great information. I'm Brian Burke, the editor of the Music and Sound Retailer. We're going to have many more of these videos coming up in the near future, I hope. We're working on them. We're even if it's pandemic, post-pandemic, whatever it is, one thing that's also not changing is the use of Zoom or similar products to talk to everyone in the MI industry. So thank you. I appreciate the help, and hopefully provided some tips for all the MI retailers as we enter this really important winter holiday season that's coming up. So thank you again, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Again, if anyone wants to have, has more questions about anything that I discussed or questions that we didn't cover, reach out to sellerengagement@reverb.com. That's my team, and we're here to help in any way that we can.